Alright, church. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Stephen and I worship at Parkhead. Alex asked if I could share something and suggested that I maybe spoke about college. So I'm studying at a Bible college at the moment in Motherwell called Tilsley College, and I've just finished doing a book review, and I thought the book was really challenging, so I thought I'd share some things from that. The book's called Practice in the Presence of God. Here it is here, nice and thin. I obviously chose the thinnest book on the list to review, and it's written by a guy called Brother Lawrence, not Lawrence Gallagher, a different one. He's a French monk from the 1600s, and it's all about his walk with God. So his goal, or our goal, he says, should be to become the most perfect worshippers of God possible. He sets out to do this by seeking God's presence 24/7. He was in constant dialogue with God throughout the day, every day. And he says, we ought to act very simply with God, speaking familiarly with him and asking him for help in situations as they arise. He saw no difference between working in a busy kitchen and being on his knees alone before God. He says, I possess God as peacefully in the bustle of my kitchen, where sometimes several people are asking me for different things at the same time, as I do upon my knees before the Holy Sacrament. He was able to feel that peace in the busy kitchen because his eyes were completely fixed on God. He was an incredibly intense guy. He said it all amounted to one good act of renunciation of everything which we recognise does not lead to God, in order to habituate ourselves to an unbroken converse with him. So basically what he's saying here is that he shuns any thought that doesn't lead him to God in order to keep himself fully fixed on God. He says we should fix ourselves firmly in the presence of God by conversing all the time with him. A shameful course it would be to abandon his fellowship to give thought to trifles. My first thought when I read this was, what has this guy got against trifle? But I googled the word and it just means things that aren't important. So a shameful course it would be to abandon his fellowship to give thought to things that aren't of importance. And I was a bit struck by how much time I spend just thinking about rubbish that doesn't benefit me in any way, and how I could be using that time instead to seek God and spend time with him. Brother Lawrence says, we are satisfied with so little. God has boundless treasures to give us, and a moment's sense of devotion is enough for us. When he finds a soul imbued with living faith, into it he pours grace on grace, a flowing stream. And this made me think of the woman at the well, when Jesus said that he could give her living water, and that whoever drinks of this water will never be thirsty again. And how I go to God for just a wee sip of that water each day, just a wee sip, cheers God, see you tomorrow for another 5 minutes, when I could be getting so much more than that. God's got so much more of himself to give us if we'd just be willing to take it. Brother Lawrence says that there is not in the world a kind of life more sweet and delightful than that of a continual conversation with God. So I felt challenged to pursue this constant conversation with God. I know it's not going to be easy, but Brother Lawrence says, some failure at the start should not dismay. Habit comes finally, and that produces the action without our thinking about it, and with wondrous joy. So I challenge you to seek to live in constant conversation with God as well. Thanks for listening. God bless.